Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're jumping straight into demystifying what is honestly the ultimate business paradox, the casino. You might think owning a casino is as simple as finding a big building, hiring a few dealers, and just watching the chips roll in. But as we're about to uncover, the reality of running this business is completely wild, it's highly counterintuitive, and it is absolutely fascinating.
Okay, let's dive right into this core contradiction. A casino is literally the only legal business in the world where math guarantees you a profit on every single dollar that walks through the door. The top line is mathematically locked in, and yet this is the exact same industry where the smartest, richest operators on the planet repeatedly go bankrupt, and at rates that would honestly embarrass a risky tech startup. So how on earth can a business with a guaranteed mathematical edge lead operators to lose absolutely everything?
Well, to understand that, we first have to look at the sheer, mind-boggling scale of the entry fees. Casinos basically come in three entirely different tiers. You've got your small, regional casinos, say out in Colorado, which cost around $2 to $5 million just to get off the ground. Pretty standard, right? But move to a mid-sized property, like the Borgata in Atlantic City, and suddenly you're looking at a cool $1 billion. And then, we hit the Vegas Strip. The Cosmopolitan opened back in 2010 and cost an eye-watering $3.9 billion. But here's the real kicker. That massive building cost, that's just the starting line.
Yeah, that construction cost is just the beginning. Let's look at the insane hitting costs just to get permission to play the game. In Vegas, holding a license runs you around $770,000 a year. Over in New York, simply applying for a license costs $20 to $50 million, and it's basically a very expensive lottery ticket. There are absolutely no guarantees you even get it. Internationally, it gets even crazier. Macau is a massive $28 billion market, but the government only issues 6 total concessions. Or look at North Korea. They're literally looking for an investor to dump $2 billion into finishing the massive Ryugyong Hotel just to get a casino license. Because even isolated dictatorships understand that a casino is essentially a giant foreign currency vacuum with a roof on it.
The math, the unbeatable house edge. So let's get into the numbers and explore why every single game is mathematically rigged.
Now, to be crystal clear, these games are not rigged through cheating. The cards are totally real, the dice are clean, but they are rigged through the structural rules of the game itself. This perfectly illustrates what the industry calls the house edge. Imagine you and I are betting on a coin flip. Heads, you win $1, tails, I win $1. That's a fair game, zero edge. But what if we just change one tiny rule? Heads still pays you $1, but if it lands on tails, I take your dollar plus a nickel. On a single flip, keeping 5 cents is boring. It doesn't seem like much. But stretched over 1 million bets, that tiny structural tweak becomes absolutely catastrophic for the player. You can see this math at work perfectly in roulette. European roulette has 37 numbers, giving the house an edge of 2.7%. The actual odds of hitting a number are 36 to 1, but they only pay out 35 to 1. But American casinos looked at that and thought, we can do better. So they simply added one extra pocket, the double zero. By adding just that single extra slot to the wheel, the casino magically doubled its edge from 2.7% to 5.26%. The average player sitting at the table doesn't even notice the difference. But trust me, the math notices every single time. But roulette isn't even the real workhorse here. Let's destroy a really common casino myth right now. The millionaire playing high-limit blackjack? They're actually only facing a house edge of about 0.5%. But grandma at the penny slots? Those machines run a massive edge of 12 to 15%. Because of this, per dollar wagered, grandma at the penny slots is statistically 30 times more profitable for the casino than the high roller. That right there is exactly why slot machines brought the Vegas Strip $4.9 billion in 2024. That's more than every single table game combined.
Section 2. Engineered immersion and whales. So we know the math requires time to work its magic. How do they actually keep people playing long enough to lose?
Well, you design the building itself to trap them in a psychological loop. The industry calls this engineered immersion. You've probably noticed this. There are 0 windows and 0 clocks on the casino floor, completely stripping away your time reference. The vibrant carpets, they are designed specifically to subtly guide your eyes upward, right toward the slot machines. Even just trying to leave the building forces you to navigate this deliberate maze of machines. But the most genius tool of all is the player's club card. It tracks every single bet you make to calculate your theoretical loss. If the math says you're going to lose $500 over the evening, they will gladly give you 5 to 10% of that back in the form of a free dinner or a comped hotel room. In 2024, the Strip gave away $4.4 billion in comps, but they didn't lose that money. They invested it, purely to keep you in the building longer.
And then, at the very, very top of the food chain, we have a tiny sliver of the market. Roughly 0.1% of all casino customers account for over 25% of a total casino's revenue. These are the whales. Let that sink in. Just 1 in 1,000 customers generates a quarter of the entire industry's money.
And because of that incredibly lopsided math, casinos will do literally anything to capture a whale. Take UFC CEO Dana White, for instance. He plays $25,000 a hand at blackjack. He won $2 million one weekend at the Palms, came back and won another $1.6 million. The Palms actually banned him, but Caesars and Bellagio, they still welcome him with open arms. Why? Because the rest of the time, whales lose enormous amounts of money. The math always wins eventually. Giving a whale a private jet, a penthouse suite, and a Michelin-starred private chef might cost a casino $500,000 for the weekend, but that is a highly logical investment when that player's expected mathematical loss is $10 million.
Section 3. The fist fight. Why casinos still go bankrupt. Okay, so if the mathematical edge is guaranteed and the architectural systems literally lock players inside, what actually goes wrong for the operators? Why do they fail?
The short answer is absolutely everything else. The math guarantees a top line, sure, but everything below that line is an absolute fist fight. Out of every single dollar that comes into a typical billion-dollar strip casino, 70 to 80 cents vanishes instantly. This leaves operators with only a 25 to 33% net profit margin. So out of a massive $1 billion in revenue, you're really only keeping about $250 to $330 million.
So where does all that money go? Well, a strip resort employs anywhere from 3,000 to 8,000 people. The taxes are brutal. While Nevada sits around a reasonable 6.75%, Pennsylvania takes over 50% on slot revenue. Then you have the entirely unique costs of running a gaming floor. Imagine having to swap out fresh card decks on every single table every 4 to 8 hours just to prevent marking. Think about the astronomical cost of insuring the $150 million in physical cash that the Bellagio keeps in the building at all times. Add in the cost of a surveillance network that is literally denser than a maximum security prison, and the massive liability of having tens of thousands of people drinking free alcohol and inevitably fighting or falling over. It adds up fast.
Section 4. The 2 fatal mistakes. Because those operating margins are so incredibly tight, casinos can fail for a lot of reasons. But almost every famous bankruptcy boils down to one of 2 exact repeating patterns. Mistake number 1. Too much debt. The ultimate cautionary tale here is the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. It opened in 1990, financed with $675 million in junk bonds carrying a massive 14% interest rate. Before paying a single dealer or a single electric bill, the casino had to generate nearly $100 million a year just to service its debt. Just 6 months after opening, it missed its first bond payment, and by 1991, it was in bankruptcy. You simply cannot build a casino on debt that requires the building to operate flawlessly from day one, because newsflash, no casino operates flawlessly from day one.
Which brings us to mistake number 2, building the wrong product for the market. Back in 2012, a $2.4 billion property called Revel opened in Atlantic City. They decided to target Wall Street executives instead of the traditional retirees. So they banned smoking, they had no buffet, and no players club. Guess what? The Wall Street crowd never showed up, the retirees felt completely alienated, and it closed 2 years later, selling for just 3 cents on the dollar. Similarly, Lucky Dragon in Vegas spent $160 million to build an Asian boutique casino with no major Vegas spectacle. But it turned out, Asian high rollers flying all the way to Vegas actually wanted the giant fountains and the over-the-top spectacle. It closed in 14 months. If you build a massive money trap, you have to make sure people actually want to step inside.
Section 5. The real revenue model. So we've seen how the traps are set and how out-of-control expenses bring the house down. Let's pull all of this together and reveal how the underlying casino business model actually functions when it survives that gauntlet. This right here is the entire casino revenue formula. The house edge multiplied by volume, multiplied by time, multiplied by repeat visits. Every single light bulb, every carpet pattern, every comped meal and swap deck of cards exists to maximize one of these 4 specific variables. You cannot change the house edge in a bad year, so everything else, your costs, your volume, your operations, has to execute perfectly around this rigid mathematical core.
And here is the ultimate plot twist of the modern casino industry. For a billion-dollar Las Vegas mega resort, gambling isn't even the main source of income anymore. Gambling only accounts for about 33% of the revenue. The other 67% comes from the hotel, the food, the shows, and conventions. A modern Vegas Strip property is barely a casino anymore. It's a massive entertainment resort that utilizes gambling as a hyper-efficient loss leader just to pull customers in the door.
But if you can manage to balance this unguaranteed fistfight of operations against that guaranteed mathematical edge, and you survive for a couple of decades, the rewards are astronomical. Just look at Sheldon Adelson. He started buying casinos in 1988, and by 2021, he had amassed a $35 billion fortune. Today, his company, Las Vegas Sands, brings in roughly $32 million in revenue every single day.
The economics of owning a casino are a brilliant, high-stakes tightrope walk. The math is flawless, for sure, but human operators and massive debts are not. The house edge guarantees that over time, the casino will win, which leaves us with one crucial thought for you to take away from all this. The next time you walk past a sea of flashing slot machines or sit down at a velvet table, you have to ask yourself, if the house always wins, are you making sure you sit on the right side of the table? Thanks for exploring this explainer with me today, and keep questioning what's behind the curtain.